All right, folks, let's get this to stay on this pretty darn centered. It's totally fine if it's not exact, but ideally get it pretty close. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna go right there. Totally can do this before I start it, but I think it's just funny to show how, like, raw I want this all to be, to do it after I start it. So today is, my hands are cold. I've been out here. I just filmed an hour-long video already. Today is the 13th of December, 2024. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, a clothing company that is so much more than just a clothing company. We are called In The Image Clothing Company because we are all universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Jesus Christ. So we discuss the skeletal system and we discuss the human body, coming at it from that point, the skeletal system and its natural positions, its natural workings. We allow the body to work through mostly clothing. And then we also discuss flat things in the world when our hands have this natural rounding to them and our feet like texture to be able to grip that arch inward, good nails on the fingers and the toes, the fingertips, yes. So, yeah, my hands are pretty stiff because it's pretty cold, but let's get into this. We talk about clothing, we talk about what it's doing to the body. We live on an earth where we have to stay centered because gravity is pulling us straight down, and we have a center, the sternum and the spine and the nose, and so we have to stay vertical. And our clothing is the only thing that's placed physically on us at all times, and so it's the thing that has the highest potential to alter our body's natural workings, and it does. So clothing needs to sit on everybody, whether you're a man or a woman, you're young or you're older, or you're fatter or skinnier. Clothing needs to sit for the skeletal system to operate and connect the only way that it does, entirely above the hips for the pants, slightly higher in the front than the rear, and then for the tops, the seams on top of those shoulders need to sit behind that little bone that's actually the other end of your collarbone, to allow your shoulders to be in their natural position, and then ideally just right at the very edges of the shoulders for those edge seams. So here is the thing that we're going to get into. This is the lifestyle series for In The Image Clothing Company, and within this one I'm going to talk about desk jobs, office workers, okay? Now, I've had two prerequisites just to allow the body to have a chance to function natural, and then we get into depth from there. I've had those since before I even founded In The Image Clothing Company. The first one is to lace your shoes with the technique that we use. Included with the technique is just to tie your shoes evenly over toward the inside. And all that does is allow your foot to be unaltered unless the shoe itself is different. If there's a heel on it, or it's not quite shaped natural for your foot, or they're stretched within the upper material or something. It just allows the foot to be unaltered. And then our second prerequisite is just to remove all the tags from all of your clothing. They're causing a gap where they're placed. It's just changing the body's natural workings, and they're also usually made out of synthetic materials that the body doesn't want to have to be in contact with, but it has no say over when they're inside clothing. So that includes the tongues of the shoes. If they're kind of hard to remove, I know that from personal experience. You can take the tag and just put some slits into it with a knife or some scissors to allow it to be textured for your ankle to be able to dorsiflex, okay? So, the sun came out. Oh my goodness. All right, this is, like I said, the lifestyle series where I discuss lifestyles that people have commonly and what the position of their body is causing to happen within their body while they're doing that thing, and also the attire that is commonly worn within those lifestyles and what that's doing to the body as well. So when we think about somebody who has an office job, and you're an office worker, you're sitting there, you're at a desk or you're at a cubicle, you've got your own office room, whatever it is. In modern 2024, we have computers. We've had computers for a few decades. And if you're sitting down, first of all, I've discussed so often within In The Image Clothing Company content, sitting in chairs. For the human body, as far-fetched as it might seem to people's understandings in 2024, especially modern United States of America, sitting somewhere between a 90-degree bend at the knees and the hips, somewhere around that bend, is just so unnatural for the human body. It's something the body doesn't actually do because you're sitting on your hamstring, and so this entire muscle here, very big muscle that really plays into the stabilization of your hips, the activation of your core, and it goes into your knee, plus a lot of other things that I've discussed. It's so unnatural for the human body. So within In the Image Clothing Company content, I have a series titled The Truth Behind, and I have a video titled The Truth Behind Sitting. You can go check that out if you'd like to understand more of what I'm saying about that. But so sitting alone is something that's so unnatural for the human body to do. And I also have a video within the Truth Behind series titled The Truth Behind Tables, where I discuss tables, desks, countertops, and what those are doing to the body at that height and the position that we're in when we're using those things. But at a desk job, at an office job like this, there's those two things going on alone. You're sitting down, and that's just so not a natural position for your body to ever be in, and then you're potentially in that position for 8 to 10 plus hours a day. So that's something that is just very, very damaging to your body. And now when you're in that position, and if you're doing a job in an office like that, you have to be doing something to be compensated with money. And so something on the tabletop, countertop, top of the desk is happening. And here's the thing, if you're using a pen and doing paperwork, you're sitting and you're like this, right? Look at this position, like writing something and like doing things out here. Now try to transition that into your daily life, and it doesn't happen. It's so different than just standing, okay? And now if you're using a computer, chances are your right hand, most people are right-handed, 85% of the population of the earth, give or take, are right-handed. So chances are your right hand's going to be using a mouse at a computer. And so now you're sitting, already unnatural, for just a lot of stuff within the body. Again, I have the content already discussing this that you can go find, so I won't go into much depth within this. But then your right arm is up here using a mouse. Now look at my body's position, okay? I'm gonna turn toward the camera. It's gonna be very hard to keep your head straight when your right shoulder is out at the mouse. Your head's going to tilt to the right. This muscle that goes from the shoulder up into the head that lifts and lowers the shoulders is called the upper trap, the trapezius. It connects along the side of your spine and right into the base of the rear of your skull. That's what allows your shoulders to raise or lower. That's like the highest muscle really that supports your shoulder as far as body from ground up. So, because it connects clear to the base of your skull. Now, if you're sitting at a computer, in a chair, at a desk, computer, and you've got your shoulders here, your trapezius muscles, your upper traps, they're going to hold your shoulders up, or they just fall down. They connect behind your head. And sitting at a computer, to get to the mouse, to use the computer, you have to take your shoulder and come out here. And so now you do this for like a few seconds and you're already feeling it just because it's unnatural. But then you're doing this for potentially a very, very long time. And you're going to end up like this. And then now you stand up. How familiar does that look and or even feel? You can probably almost feel the position by seeing it here, because if you're in this position, you know it. So now you're going through life like this, and it, might not look to this extent, but this is the position, and it's sad. It's unfortunate. So that's just using the mouse. And then if you're using a computer, a computer's keyboard, I talk a lot about, my hands are very cold, so they're not gonna look as natural as they normally are, but it is very cold here in Utah, United States of America. I talk all the time about the neutral wrist, which is straight out from our pinkies, a neutral wrist. Now, in order to have a neutral wrist, you can't use a keyboard the way that keyboards are structured most commonly. There's some different keyboards than like what you would consider like a traditional one, but the neutral wrist is here. And so you can't get your wrist close in here and use the keyboard when the keys are in line, because you have to get your hands like this. But look at my wrist position there. Neutral. To keep them neutral and have them this close together, they'd have to be like pointing inward. And so once you try to get to those flat horizontal keys, this happens. So now you're like this. Because when you're typing, you're doing little movements with your fingers and you're training a patterning, traveling up all the muscles in your arm like this, rather than neutral wrist. Okay? So you're doing that and you're doing this for hours a day, and that's damaging. So damaging. So damaging. Also, if your shoes are not tied evenly over toward the inside, then whatever side is tied not that way is just pulling that foot out, traveling up the entirety of your body while you're sitting, and it's almost always the right side that's happening in. And so your right side's already out from up here, and then if your foot's being pulled out from down there, your poor body, I mean that in all sincerity, it's sad. It's unfortunate. So yeah, that's happening for, like I said, I mean, if you're working a 40-hour work week and you're working 5 days a week, then it's at least 8 hours a day. Maybe you've got a lunch break in there. Maybe you're not sitting the whole time. Sometimes it's a lot of your day, every single day for some people. Even 7 days a week for some people. It's unreal. So I mentioned we should never sit in chairs at that height. It shouldn't happen because the human body doesn't actually do that. But yeah. So anyway, the point is it's unnatural. Computers are unnatural. They didn't exist until men made them. Chairs didn't exist until men made them. Desk height things and the flatness that is a desk didn't exist until men made them. So it's unnatural for the body that is a natural thing that has been here for thousands of years, and it only works the way that it does. So now we also have the clothing that people most commonly wear at some kind of office job. If you go to an office job, you're probably wearing shoes that are at least like, they have the term like business or business casual and things like that, where, there's a pretty universal dress code that's been the same for quite a while that people will wear a job like that. And so your shoes, whatever they are, they got to be laced and tied correct, just the only way that the foot is actually shaped. Ideally, no heel on your shoe at all, because if you're sitting down with your feet flat on the ground, and I'm saying that's already unnatural in that chair height, well, now you add a heel on your shoe to that, and it's just changing the position of your entire body traveling up, and that's not something we want. Now, when you're wearing slacks, which is a lot of time what people will be wearing at a desk job like that, an office job, we've got videos for In the Image Clothing Company titled How Zippers Affect Body Mechanics, and you can check that out because zippers really are uneven, and slacks almost always have a zipper, so that's twisting your hips. And then we also I discussed where clothing needs to sit, and so even if you are sitting down, your pants still need to sit in the same location. So you don't want your pants any different than how I say they need to sit, or else your whole core is changed even worse than it's already just so unnaturally being forced to work within sitting at a chair height. So yeah, and then if you have a belt on, a lot of times that'll happen. You might even have your shirt tucked in, you know, if you need to be dressed up like pretty nicely for your occupation. If you have a belt on, that's just more weight in the front where the belt buckle is, and that has the potential to just drop your waistline in the front. And there goes your core activation without anything you could ever do about it. Or I, in those cases. It's not about anybody versus anybody else. It's just the way the human body works. So, now if you're wearing a button-up shirt, I love button-up shirts, and I wear them a lot. But I do modifications to them to allow it to stay centered. Because button-up shirts, especially with this bottom button, what'll happen is you button that up and it'll turn this way. And it'll rotate your body. Actually, your shoulders will go this way. But it'll rotate your whole body. Now, if you have it buttoned all the way to the bottom and then you tuck in your shirt, now it's rotating within your waistline. So as much as it's already taking your shoulders, it's also taking your hips because it's inside your pants. And so this rotation is going to take your pants with it. So there's a lot going on within people at desk jobs, at office jobs, sitting down all the time. And, you know, we need to do all that we can to allow the body to work. I understand there's a lot of occupations nowadays where people do work in offices, and in some ways those jobs really help the world. In a lot of ways they do. But, you know, we got to be very conscious and do all that we can to allow our bodies to just work, because they only do what they do, and they don't do any of that stuff that I just discussed within this video. So yeah, we've got to be very intentional and do all that we can. You can check out In The Image Clothing Company content for more things, more in depth on what I've discussed within this a little bit. But, you know, I really do feel for people who have a desk job. I feel for them for the sake of the damage that's happening to their body. I will say, you are not stuck there. A lot of people feel stuck at a desk job. There's some people who actually really have the desire within them to have a job like that, and that's an entirely different case. But I think it's more common for people to feel like that's a place that they're stuck, or a place that they have to do, or like the only job they deserve to work. I know that because I've seen that a lot with, you know, there's jobs that are more commonly like entry-level jobs that are the same type of like positioning at a desk, like call centers and things like that, where it's a job that people know that they could get, you know, and maybe you don't feel like you deserve a better job, or even if it is a job that's like more of like a higher ranking job. I don't care about ranks, but for the sake of like you're getting paid pretty well so that you can do the things you need to in your life, right? It's not like it's some place you feel that you just is an entry-level place, but you've actually gotten to a place where you can support yourself well in the way that you feel you need to, and maybe you've worked your way up and you've spent time there. You're not stuck there either. Even if that's happened and you really do feel within yourself that you are fortunate to have the job because of what it's providing for you, and you know, the experience and whatever it really is. If it is a lot of good things to you, but still you feel like you'd like to get out of there and do something different, you can. I don't care who you are, where you are, or what your situation is, you can. It's not about us. Our God is above everything, and He's the way maker. He's the God of impossibles. And I would never want to sit down at a job. I've had a lot of jobs in my life. I've just done a lot of different things as far as work goes, and I've never had a job where I've had to sit down. And if I could, you know, out of my own say, if I really could make it how I wanted, I would never want to have a job where I sat down. And I know that a lot of people that are in office jobs have that same understanding, even if they've been in there for a long time. And just, you're not stuck there, man. You're not stuck there. You're really not. I don't care what your situation is. I don't care how impossible it seems. I don't care how little I know about your situation. I'm not trying to tell you something, but you're not stuck there. And I just, you know, because the whole point is, even if you like it, that position's so damaging to your body, and so you're putting your body through so much. Here's one thing that's actually going to be a little bit beneficial. is if you are at a place that has some leniency and you can somehow sit like on the ground or on like a cushion on the ground and like use, instead of a computer on a desk, you can use it like on your lap or something, or on like a cushion on your lap and sit on the ground. That's so much more natural. I thought it said that the storage was full, but something else popped up on the screen. But no, yeah, I mean, the point is, you don't have to get out of there. I'm not saying like nobody should ever have a desk job because like, just because it's damaging to the body. I mean, if that's like your dream, you know, like I'm saying, people got different lives, man. And so some people may really want that to happen, and maybe not even just want, but that might be their actual plan, their path, you know, like given to them divinely. It really could be. But within it, it doesn't matter. What I'm saying about what it's doing to the body is still the same. And so, yeah, if there's anything you can do to have some leniency about, you know, some places are pretty darn strict, man. I've worked at some places where, you know, who's running the place just wants it ran how they want it run. But if you can sit down in a position that's the most natural that you can get to for your body, that's ideal. Because a lot of times what's happening with those jobs is, even if the work itself isn't so terrible to you specifically, you are putting your body through a lot just sitting there because it's so unnatural. And so at the end of the day, you might feel like you just, you know, did a lot of physical labor. You didn't leave your seat, because that position is more damaging in ways and in, you know, yeah, than actual physical labor. So it's understandable, you know. A lot of times the frustration that comes from those jobs, sitting at a desk, is just the body struggling to work in a position it doesn't actually work in. So I feel it, man. I really do. I understand. When you're tying ties, same thing. Just tie it in a way to where, like, what you can do is stand evenly, you know, shoes tied and laced correct, and bend over and see. You don't want your tie like pulling your neck one way or another. That's kind of the way that I can see it the best, is if I put a tie on and I tie it, if I like bend over and it feels like I'm being pulled, because that way you could just like tell the pull it's having on your neck. Because if you're wearing a tie and sitting at a job, at a desk, you're going to be bent over a little bit, because sitting in a chair you just are bent over, and so your tie is going to be hanging. So what I like to do actually is tuck the tail of the tie into the, for me it's the third button, but I always remove the top button. So if you have the top button, it'd be the fourth, between the third and the fourth. But if you don't have the top button, then it's, like in my case, 1, 2, 3, between the second and third button. I like to tuck the smaller end of the tail, of the tie tail, into there, because that holds the tie against you more, rather than like having the tie fall and taking your whole upper body with it. So if you're wearing a tie, that's a tip that I would say. That's what I do. Like when I go to church on Sundays, I tuck my tie, the little tail, into right there, and that just kind of keeps it against me to keep me in a more neutral position. You know, yeah, I mean, a tie is just more weight on the front of you as well, you know. It really, a lot of it, that's why I have this series, the lifestyle series for In the Image Clothing Company, because a lot of what people are experiencing is just the attire they're wearing at the things they're doing. Even if the thing they're doing isn't even causing more things to happen within their body than the other things they're doing in life, but if they have a certain type of dress that they wear when they go there, things like what I'm saying here, you know, it really is just altering the body in a way that it would never have to deal with otherwise. So yeah, desk jobs, I think that's just about all I'm gonna say for that, because I think the big thing is I really understand. I've had so many jobs, and a lot of times that's really what it is at jobs. It's not even so much the work, but it's the positions you're in, physical positions. And it's, you know, the uniforms that they give you, or the dress code that they tell you have to do. And if you don't know, like I didn't in the times that I had these jobs, I didn't know what was needed to allow clothing to stay centered, and I didn't know the effect that clothing uncentered had on the body, even just slightly uncentered, even just little things. You know, I didn't know. And so you go to work and they tell you what to wear, because you have to be, seen as an employee to them, especially if you have customers coming in and things, so yeah, so it's huge, man. If you can get your own physical body to be to the best of your own situation, as natural as you can, then no matter what you're doing in life, there's not that added problem, if you will, of just your body being forced to do something physically that it doesn't even do. So yeah, I've got a big understanding of what people are experiencing within desk jobs, because I see it. I've got this eye that I can see people's bodies, patternings, and positions because of the clothing they're wearing. And if you're doing something like a job where just about every day you're wearing just about the same clothing, then anything that's doing to your body, it's doing to it every single day. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say on office jobs, desk jobs. Just try to keep your body neutral to the best of what you can. I understand if you have to sit at a desk, that's just, you gotta do it. You gotta do what you can within it. One thing I will say actually, yeah, is standing desks. That is the ideal when it comes to having to use a desk. Don't sit if you have the choice. If where you're working, they're allowing you to use a standing desk. Nowadays they have those ones that are electronic, and so it'll go up or down, and like you press a button even and it'll go up and down, or if it just adjusts, or if it's just a standing desk that's only fixed at one height. Standing, now you're just closer to natural, and you can just do things. Ideally keep things close to you, because the farther out you have to reach, the more stress it's putting on the muscles that want to actually work behind your body, neutral like this, but keep it as close to you as you can. And then your eyes, you don't want something so close to you like the screen, but like as far as the things you're going to be using with your hands, keep it close. If you can get a keyboard that's more accommodating for a neutral wrist, straight out from the pinkies, they have some where the keys kind of come like on an angle like that. That's going to just benefit you so much, because what happens is this stuff transitions into the rest of your life. It's not just at the job you're dealing with this, but then if you're training your forearms through all the muscles within your finger to work in an unnatural position, then you're training your muscles, and they get into that patterning until they're allowed to get out of the patterning. So yeah, get a mouse that can be as ergonomic for your hand and your wrist and your elbow and your shoulder and everything that travels through your whole body, right? Get one that's as ergonomical as you can for your wrist to just be in a naturally neutral position, and just do all you can for your body within what you're having to do, meaning in that time. Like I'm saying, nobody's stuck at a desk job. If you do feel stuck, you're not. I had a lot of jobs in my past, never had a job like that, but I've had jobs where I felt like I'd be stuck at them forever, and it's not true. We get in our heads. A lot of times, if we were faithful, sometimes we get the potential to kind of lose our faith and to stop praying through things and to stop asking for guidance and asking for God's will over our own. And then if you're not somebody who has been introduced to the gospel of Jesus Christ, I'm going to transition into this. We have 3 ways of looking at In the Image Clothing Company. We have this main company area. Then we have the podcast, In the Image Clothing Company podcast, where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that's the whole point of having that podcast, is to share the gospel with anybody and everybody that we can possibly come in contact to with it. And so the gospel of Jesus Christ is the truth of all things. We have that podcast where we just have discussions on it, and I'm going to learn more through it, and I'm excited for that. And then I'm just sharing things that happened to me, that happened through me, biblical stuff. We also talk about the Book of Mormon, which is another testament of Jesus Christ. And so we do a lot within the podcast. And so that's something, man. I mean, keep the faith, no joke. Not some kind of like, I don't know. I can picture this video being one out of the videos that we have that people could come across first. If you've never seen In the Image Clothing Company at all, or never heard about us, I could see this being like your first video that you've come across with us, just because of what it is. being, you know, a little bit different than what we normally talk about. And we're so real here. It's not some kind of thing. It's just look, my name's Evan Strong. I founded this company, In The Image Clothing Company. Let me share truth with the world. Here we go, right? And so I just welcome, if you're here for the first time, I want to just be very real with this, and that's what we have been. That's what we will continue to be as a company. And it's, like I said in the intro, so much more than just a clothing company. So really, it's centered around the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I know how much people need to hear the gospel. I'm gonna tear up for real, man. I know how much people need to hear the gospel when it comes to feeling stuck in a job, because I've been stuck in jobs. I wasn't actually stuck, but I've, you know, in my mind felt like that was the case. And a desk job, man, that's like the last place I'd want to be. And people got their own, you know, likes and dislikes, but for me, I could imagine, and I've seen a lot of people get stuck in those positions for a while and feel like that's their end goal, and that's what they're just like damned to do, kind of, you know. It's not true, man. So yeah, do all that you can, though. I mean, like, when you're looking at a screen, I've mentioned this, I have a video titled How Cell Phones Affect Body Mechanics for In The Image Clothing Company, and I've mentioned how we want the screens that we're looking at to be at the same brightness as our environment, or maybe even slightly dimmer, but pretty much right around the same brightness as the environment you're actually in, and that's going to strain your eyes less. And then ideally keep as much glare as you can off of it. If it's, you know, glass, a lot of times those plastic ones have a lot less glare, or like the poly, whatever the material is. But if you have a screen and you can put like a film over it, like almost like a matte screen protector to, you know, you don't want reflections, you don't want to be looking at yourself while you're also looking at what's being portrayed on the screen, you know what I mean? Do all you can for your eyes, get at a good distance, and the level of things, keep everything just as neutral as you can, man, while you're doing this unnatural thing that desk jobs really are, no matter what. That's not to say that they're always bad, but they are unnatural for the body physically. So anyway, man, that's what I'm gonna say on office jobs. I think you can tell, like, I feel for it, I get it. I haven't done it myself, but I see it. I see the effect that it has on people, and I know what it would do to me, and how upset I'd be about having to do that. But it's not our plan, it's not our will, if we're willing to be open. And so, I mean, if I had to, I would, you know, we'd cross that bridge when we came to it. But yeah, so we will have clothing available when it comes to just allow the body to work, staying centered, fitting correct where I discussed, at least sitting in the angles where I said clothing needs to. If you ever purchase clothing from In The Image Clothing Company, just please never ever have the intention to be purchasing it to fit oversized. Just try your best to get it in your size, because the whole goal of our company is to allow the human body to work. And in order for that to happen, clothing has to fit correct, as close as we can get it within our own situations. So yeah, thank you. Like I said, we do have the other avenues that you can check out In The Image Clothing Company with, and I'm loving this new series so far. This is the third series in the lifestyle series, and I'm really enjoying it. I think this is going to be something that's going to really give people more of a personal connection with what we're really doing here at In The Image Clothing Company. And then really the goal is to bring people to the gospel of Jesus Christ. This is going to be so big, man. I'm so blessed to be able to have this company as what it is, and it's something that just kind of like happened, and so I'm very grateful. So like I said, it's the 13th of December 2024. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Thank you for checking out the lifestyle series, and just please know that there's so much more you can do within the situation you are in to lessen the effects that those things are having on your own personal life. And a lot of that really is coming through your physical body being inhibited from its only natural workings. And so there's a lot that you can do within that, even being still working at a desk job. There really is. So thank you. Check out the other things we do have at In The Image Clothing Company if you'd like, because I've got a lot of stuff that's good. The only reason I'm making these videos, the only reason that we have this company, the only reason we would ever put out any clothing is to help. And so we discuss truth to the best of what we can, being sinful by nature human beings, and it's all centered around the gospel of Jesus Christ. So, okay, thank you.